Coming up on Guys Talking Sports, we're all over the place when it comes to sports. We're going to talk NFL, we're going to talk NBA, we're going to talk about contracts, we're going to talk about everything. Major League Baseball, we're going to talk about that. What happened at the ESPYs as well. My guest host, Adrian Catwell, joins me right now on Guys Talking Sports. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Guys Talking Sports. And first off, let me say thank you to everybody that's been viewing, that's been subscribing. I really do appreciate it. The comments that was made from everybody as far as the tips and ways to help get me going to the next level, I really do appreciate that. But for now, this is Guys Talking Sports. I am Al Qualls, and my guest host with me is none other than my boy Adrian Catwell. So, Adrian, man, how's everything going for you?
Everything's good, man. Can't complain. Just working. Happy to finally got a spot available to sit down and talk about what's going on in this crazy world we call sports.
Yeah, that's true, man. I really do appreciate you coming back and talking about sports with me, man. I really do appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to
it. All right, so
I'm ready to dive right in.
Yeah, so let's get started. And it's unfortunate because we really don't have that much sports going on as of right now. With everything right now, it's just been basically like the NBA Summer League. Let me start off with the ESPYs, I guess we could say, since that was last night. Now, I do have to admit, I also did not. I haven't watched it. I didn't watch the ESPYs. Because I had something else going on. But from the comments and everything from everything I was hearing, as far as sports related wise, really wasn't a bigger turnout than I expected it to be, as far as the numbers is concerned. But overall, I think that the ESPYs do good things for a great cause, and I do tip my hat for them to continue to doing what they're doing, as far as that is concerned.
Oh yeah, the ESPYs are ESPYs. I'm sure it raises money for the Jimmy V and all that good stuff, But I'm no Kardashian follower. I don't follow all that type of crap, And I'm not hating on Bruce Jenner now, Caitlyn, whatever she is now, Jenner, I guess. I'm not hating on her or him or whatever. But ESPN, the fine work that they do, with the ESPYs, I think they could have found a better candidate for the Courage Award, Arthur Ashe Courage Award, than Caitlyn Jenner. No, don't get me wrong. It takes courage to go out there, especially somebody who's in that type of a limelight, especially being affiliated with the Kardashians and who he was as an athlete back in the 70s, the Olympics, the whole 9 yards. For him to go and do what he did and publicly, you could see the progression over the years. He did, you could tell that eventually he probably would have went down that road. But like Devin Still, his daughter, the linebacker, defensive end linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals, his daughter is fighting cancer. The Bengals was nice enough to pick him up to make sure that they were able to have adequate health care for his daughter. The young lady that played, the freshman young lady that played basketball who recently passed away, who was able to play college basketball, that to me, Courage Award could have been given to that family to say, your daughter fought through all this adversity to get where she wanted to be, was able to experience that experience, and then was able to pass away happy knowing that she got to where she had to be. Things like that to me would have been a much better candidate than to say, okay, this is who I am, Bruce Jenner, just busting out the door saying, okay, now I'm Caitlyn. And now all of a sudden, probably would have been that young lady as the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. Oh no, Bruce Jenner, oh no, we got to, to me, that's what's really kind of sad, because it's marketing the Caitlyn Jenner brand, whatever, is marketing her brand. It's getting more clicks for her, making more money for that, situation. Where other people who it may not have gotten more clicks or it may not have gotten more money, but there were tons of individuals who were more deserving, in my opinion, to get that award. But that's just my 2 cents. I could be wrong. Folks could be thinking totally different than I am. So, and I'm not bashing the the LBGT. I'm sorry, LG. Well, I'm not bashing that community. I'm sorry if I said your initials wrong. I'm not trying to bash that community at all. I'm just saying that it's from a sports perspective. There were other candidates that I felt that was more deserving than the Caitlyn experience. I guess I'll leave it at that.
No, basically, you pretty much just took the words right out of my mouth. I also agree with you. I thought Lauren Hill, if anybody, should have been more deserving
Right.
than Caitlyn Jenner. And it's not to say that what Caitlyn did was achievement of her. That was an achievement in her own right. But as far as from a college perspective, like as far as a sports perspective, what was done. I think Lauren Hill definitely, for her to play her first game, knowing with everything was going on with her situation, for her to play a college game, I think that was a lot more important than
Right.
of an actual cause, especially when it comes to dealing with sports. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jenner is a figure, but that was back in his heyday.
Exactly.
He hasn't
Exactly.
done anything at this particular point to point me to say that was encouraging. I mean, let's take even last year with Michael Sam being the first gay person in the NFL. He was playing sports at the time,
Right.
so that was more understanding and more deserving.
Right.
Like you said, I think that this was more of I don't know. I don't know. I could. This wasn't just. I didn't think. Basically, in a nutshell, I didn't think that Jenner deserved the award, especially when there was more people more deserving. And I really thought that Lauren Hill should have got the award, or at least her family should
Right.
have got the award to at least dedicate in her memory of what she done as far as sports is concerned this year. And for her to overcome the obstacles of what she did this year, I think that was more deserving.
I
Um,
agree.
as far as I think that was the most important thing, and I think and not saying the ESPYS it's a great award ceremony, but I think they really did drop the ball on this one, and I'm not knocking what Jenner has done in his or her own right, but it's just the fact that I think that Lauren Hill was definitely more deserving than Jenner
I
for
agree.
this award.
I agree. But I still think that, from a publicity standpoint, I think ESPN did it because it would draw more eyes to the SB. It would draw the SB gets its draw. It's going to get its major share of the TV watchers.
Hmm.
But now you put Caitlyn in the scene, you might get 5% or 10% more that you would typically get every year. So I think that it had everything to do with ratings. But again, I'm not hating. I'm not trying to put down any particular gender or whatever, however, a person goes about wanting to do what they want to do. But I just think, um, I think Lauren Hill would have been a obvious choice. And if they wanted to say, honorable mention, or just to say, hey, and by the way, we know that Bruce hasn't done anything in 30 years athletically, but it took a lot of courage for him to go down this road and become the person that he is today. Then you could have probably gave off a little side acknowledgement or a little plaque or something, but you didn't have to dedicate the whole thing just to him.
No, I agree with that. And if you really wanted to give him his due, give him a time to speak, give him a
Right.
slot to speak what he spoke. I mean, but to present the award, I think was just like I said, it was. I don't think he was deserving more. To be honest, no one was more deserving to me, in my opinion, than Lauren Hill.
I
I mean,
agree.
if you want to give him the slot to speak and speak out to the people, I have no problem with that. Um, by all means, go for it. But the point is that I think that as far as the award is concerned, I think that Lauren Hill was definitely more deserving of it. So
I agree. Or that, or if you wanted to acknowledge Caitlyn, you could have had Caitlyn present the award.
That's
That
interesting.
way, Caitlyn still would have been able to be there and to be part of that award, but wasn't necessarily the one who should have gotten the award.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. But let's just get out of the SBs. I
Right.
know I brought it up because that was last night, but
Right.
other than that, there wasn't really any surprises or anything like that from what I heard. Um,
What about Ronda Rousey throwing a throwing a little something at Floyd?
ah,
That
okay.
was funny.
Now that was a bit amusing. To be honest, I would love to see them go, a couple of rounds.
Personally, I think Floyd might get a run for his money
No, I think, to be honest, I think she would really knock him out.
because I don't think she would have no problem just bull rushing him.
Yeah, I mean, especially it's not no, and I'm not saying in her element she would kill him.
Oh yeah,
In the octagon she would kill him.
because he can't
And
run.
yeah, there's no really nowhere to go, and once she
Right,
grabs him, it's a wrap.
right, right.
So
Oh, that would be fun. That would be a great charity match.
yeah, but he wouldn't do that because of he would want unless they're offering at least a half a billion, he wouldn't do that. That's all about the money for him.
Which
So,
is
and I think that
which is
Ronda
fair.
would take it. I think Ronda would make it as serious as she can. You
Oh,
know.
she would. I think she would. I think she would TKO.
Yeah, yeah. I have to agree with that. I would
Yeah.
have to agree with that. Let's just put that as a poll out there. Somehow, just put it as a poll. Like, who would you think would actually win a fight between Ronda Rousey and Floyd Mayweather? It'd be interesting to see what the poll numbers show.
Man, Ronda Rousey would take that dude, and that's my opinion. That's and everybody's got everybody can say, but even with the Pacquiao fight,
Yeah,
I wasn't impressed by that. But then I guess, from my understanding, I'm not an avid boxing fan.
yeah.
But they say that that's just the way he fights, and if that's the way he fights, I wouldn't want to fight him. What's the point?
That is true. That is true. That
Because
is
all he gonna do is run. He ain't gonna
yeah,
sit there and try to take it.
yeah, yeah. No, the strategy, his strategy is it's a bit questionable, but
But I mean, it works for him,
it
so
works for him. Yeah,
I can't knock it.
yeah, it works for him. So
Right.
yeah, you're right. Can't knock it.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, the SBs wasn't really, Oh, let me ask you a question because
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I wanted to ask you in regards. Did you see the Major League Baseball All Star um the weekend? I wanted your take on the format of the home run derby, the new format, I should say.
I didn't watch it,
Okay.
unfortunately, because my little dog, my little 11-pound Yorkie, believes that when a baseball game is on TV,
Mm-hmm.
that ball belongs to her.
Ah,
She's seeing a
okay.
ball thrown and she gets excited. She starts to bark and she won't stop. So
Ah,
I really can't watch those sort of things because she'll just go crazy.
okay.
But I did hear about the format, and from my understanding, that it was a resounding result. Like, folks were really impressed that by putting a time limit in it and so many pitches, or however, I believe, that it really added a nice element of intensity, and a nice element of is the batter gonna be able to blah blah blah? Because I heard that the kid Frazier, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
from Cincinnati, who won it, um, he was down so many, like 6 home runs with like less than a minute left or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, because of whatever he did, he managed to gain some additional time, and he got the winning home run on the very first pitch. And I wish I could have seen it, but I heard it was really good. Like, fans really embraced it, so I think they might be on to something with that.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I had to admit I was like a little hesitant
Mm-hmm.
because of how it was going to be. But in actuality, I saw a couple of people step up to the plate to do it, and I thought to myself, wow, I could really sit. To be honest, I could sit here and actually watch it. And I'm not really an avid baseball fan, but to say to myself, you know what, this is what I honestly have to say that it was more enjoyable that way.
Right.
So I had to admit that when once they did that, I had to admit I found myself wanting to see more of it.
Hmm.
I thought, in all, the whole major league, the All Star Weekend was, I thought it was a good success. But they still are missing, I think, viewers. I think they still got to find a way to capture more viewership, I should say.
Well, um, baseball back when it was in its hey, you're talking about the early 1900s,
Hmm.
probably, I would have to say, in my opinion, probably until the strike year of 94, probably was still doing its thing. The strike came, and I think it took a little luster because it took Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, and the whole home run, chase of 61 to really bring some excitement back into baseball. So I think the strike really did its damage. But now, with football being as popular, it's a contact sport. Um, Fans are hungry for that type of entertainment. Um, Basketball has its stars, so when the stars are on the brightest stage, it's always going to have some really high numbers.
Yeah.
Baseball is just a grind. You got 16 football games, so you just got 16 weeks. You got 4 months in a day to watch your team play, unless they make the playoffs, and then you're fortunate to get a couple more weeks of football. Baseball, you don't necessarily have to be watching in April, May to be turning on to the playoffs come October. I mean, you got
Mhm.
such a huge window. And with that being said, I think the fans are still there, but they're so conscious about time. They're saying that a baseball game could be anywhere from 2.5 hours to 3 hours to 4 hours, depending on if it goes extra innings, blah blah blah. But I think a lot of people, and I'm not gonna say a lot of people, I think those who are disheartened by the length of baseball or the style of baseball have to understand that baseball is never it was never built to be an offensive sport. It's always been about the pitchers.
Yeah.
So if the pitchers are on and there's no offense, baseball enthusiasts are loving it because the pitcher is just dominating the other team. And then if you just so happen to have one dominating pitcher versus another dominating pitcher and you're going dueling, that's interesting baseball. But for
Yeah.
those who are casual fans and they see that, oh my God, it's still 0-0 over in the seventh inning, God, this is so boring. There's no action. There's no nothing. They'll never understand that. They don't understand that baseball is a premise on pitching and defense. The opposite. The premise of baseball is to prevent the other team from scoring. So when you have a game that's 16-2, it was just a really bad game. But if you have a game that's 2-1, that's an excellent game.
Yeah.
Whereas football, the name of the game is to try to get as many points as you can. And you can see now that football is definitely an offense. It's geared towards the offense to score as many points, and that's what makes the fans happy.
No, I think.
You're never going to be able to get that type of reaction from baseball just because it's just not built that way. Unless you put a ball on a tee, or you just have it like in the homer hitting contest where the Jew just kind of lobs the ball up there and gets kind of see where it goes.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's just never going to happen that way.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. And you brought up an interesting theory in regards to baseball being more of a defensive sport. And I think a lot of the fans right now are always looking at offense. Like, for example, with football, of course, like you said, it's to score as much points as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people want to see that touchdown scored, or, however long you're scoring points. Same thing with basketball, I guess you could say as well. A lot of people are more excited when they see a high scoring game than a defensive game where they're only scoring like 60 to 70 points. It's not that much excitement. The defense may be good, but like you said, it may not be excitement. Fans are looking for that offense where something is happening. And, for baseball, from that perspective, like you said, I think the casual fan doesn't enjoy the actual moments of baseball, in regards to if it being like a 1-1 tie in the bottom of the seventh, or a 2-1 game in the middle of in the eighth inning. Um,
Right.
I think you're onto something when it's like if it's a 16-2 game, the fans is going to be tuned out completely.
Right. Right.
So
I mean,
you're onto something with that.
it is no different than if you go watch a football game and the score is 3-3 in the middle of the fourth quarter. People are saying, "Oh, God, oh my goodness, this is an ugly game." Blah 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 blah. People don't want to see 3-3, 6-3 games in the NFL or 9-6. People want to see 45-32 games or 45-44 games. And that's just the thirst of offense and the thirst of excitement that they want in sports. That's why basketball, though, will always be popular as long as the team is doing well. The team is doing well because it's always up and down, up and down, up and down. Don't get me started on the quality of athletes in basketball that's jumping to the pros where they can't hit jumpers and all that type of stuff. That's just another conversation, another guys talking sports. You can talk hours for that. The college isn't really developing their players like they used to in the 80s and the 90s or 70s or anything prior to when they the one and doneers, because it's way more one and doneers than actually when they. I think honestly though, on a side note, the NBA should just go ahead and let them jokers go back from come from the NBA. I mean from high school jump to the NBA, because if they sit there and if they sit there and they take that shot to think that they're that good to go to the NBA, coming out of high school and they don't get drafted, they lose their amateurism, then they're SOL. Anyway, that's another conversation. But getting back to football and baseball.
Yeah, no, you're right. This is another conversation. I can see that right now.
I mean, folks can argue till they're blue in the face. I mean, I've heard different, and I mean, this is for all sports.
Mhm.
They'll sit there and say, well, baseball players, high school baseball players jump from high school to the pros. And yeah, they'll sit there and be journeyman minor league players for their entire career. You know what I mean? Yeah, you might be sit there and play baseball, but if you're 19 and you're in single A ball making $2,000 a week, you're no different than the honest Joe that's getting a college degree that has a pretty decent job. You know what I mean? And those seasons are only for like 3 weeks. I mean, three or 4 months. What happens when you're not playing? The checks don't come in no more. You know what I mean?
You're
So,
right. You're right. Absolutely right.
I, and that's where you saw less people or less athletes, high school athletes in basketball, jump from high school to the pros, because that whole possibility of losing your amateurism if you don't get drafted. Once you declare for the draft, you lost your amateurism. You can't go back to college and play ball no more. What you gonna do? You gonna think that then your only option is to go overseas, and then what happens if you don't develop into that player to make the NBA? Then you just stuck as a journeyman overseas somewhere playing ball for the next 12 to 15 years or however. So maybe because you didn't see that many people jump from high school to the pros in basketball. You had the Kevin Garnett's, you had the LeBrons, you had just a few, and then you've realized that the quality of college basketball was better. The quality of the NBA was better because they were getting more skills and honing their craft in the college game. And that way, you're not seeing NBA scores of 75, 74. You were seeing scores of 112, 106 every night. Even with the so-so players in the games, you're still getting up to 100 because they can hit a 15-footer consistently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the change. It's the change of the times. That's what that is.
And then I forget, maybe I was talking to somebody at work or somebody. They're like, man, how you going to sit there and deny that individual who might be, they're coming from a family who's really poor, blah, 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 blah. okay, I'm not knocking that. Those folks are coming from that type of a situation, but they shouldn't grab the cash. But maybe I don't know. There's got to be a way to fix it because I believe basketball, though basketball is fun, I believe that it's just not as fun as it used to be. Because and I'm really off tangent because I know we were talking about baseball.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. No, the thing is that the rules have changed, so it's not. I mean, they try to do things as far as adaptability, and that goes in all sports. Whether it's moving the field goal kick to, I mean, back a couple of yards, or like you said, changing the rules of how you guard a player in the NBA, or the instant replay with baseball and hockey. I mean, there's rules that's going to adapt to try to make things work for each sport, and sometimes it works for them, and sometimes it doesn't. And you see how it's like affecting the fans, or how the fans are reacting towards it nowadays, than what it was in the past. So
Hmm.
how it, I mean, whether it becomes a positive or a negative, I guess time will tell.
Right, right. Well, I'm curious to see how things progress with that.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how the new commissioner for Major League Baseball will try to increase the speed of the game. But personally, I have no problem watching the baseball game if
Hmm.
my dog wasn't uh, so wanting that ball.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I love going to the park. You can't tell me there's nothing better than going to a baseball game, sitting down at the park and actually watching the game. It's regardless of 2-1 or 15-3. That experience is an experience like none other. You
That
know.
I have to agree with you on. I do agree with you on that.
Hmm.
Now, but I guess what else can we talk about in the next?
Uh,
Um,
I mean, the Des
that's
Bryant,
right.
Demarius Thomas.
Yeah, yeah,
Personally, me, I think Dez played it right. Dez wanted his contract. Dez said, "This is what I'm going to do," and he just kept reiterating it ever so often. He wasn't whining in the media. He wasn't talking to the media. He just go on Twitter, say what he got to say. That's that. And he got what he wanted. He got what he deserved. I should say it like that.
yeah. I was about, yeah, he definitely got what he deserved.
And if more athletes, football, NFL athletes, and that, didn't whine and whine and moan about XYZ and just kind of just play hard, play the game hard, but in a way that I'm talking about contracts.
Hmm.
Play it close to the chest and just let them know that you're not settling for whatever you're trying to tell me, knowing that you're one of these stars and one of the players that get you there. Then I can't knock the Demarius Thomas for wanting what he want. I guess that the Houston kid out of Kansas City.
Hmm.
Obviously, Kansas City feels as though he's worth $101 million.
Hmm.
I mean, who's the man to sit there and say, "Nah, don't give me $101 million"? Granted, he probably won't see all of that $101 million, but because this the guaranteed money in the NFL that's more important than the contract
Exactly.
itself. And that's
Exactly.
another thing I don't really care about. I don't care for in the NFL as far as how their contracts are situated. That if you get cut, that's it. Your check stops. If they went towards the more guaranteed contract, like what I think I read an article where Barry Bonds is still getting $1 million a year from the Mets, and you'll be getting $1 million from the Mets until sometime after 2020,
Yeah.
2030 or something like that.
Hmm.
When he signed that ridiculous contract, they made it so that once you retire, you just get $1 million every year. Man, his family is set for life. And mind you, $1 million after taxes is probably only $600,000. But if he has a daughter, you trying to tell me she can't live comfortable off $600,000 a year? and I'm sure she working.
That is true.
You
That's
know,
true. The contracts basically whoever negotiates these contracts, they player is a player driven league. I mean, at this particular point, owners, I always say this, it is a player driven league. The owners, all they do is just they pay out the checks. They
hmm
pay out the checks to these players, and the players is what makes that makes the league at this point.
right.
I mean, that's a given. It's what makes this league, and you have to do whatever you can to keep the best players that's out there on your team. And these contracts is just sometimes it's just contracts as a whole. Sometimes I just be sitting to myself and thinking, "Wow, are you really serious?" Like, like a perfect example, like you said, with Barry Bonds still getting paid,
Oh,
till
not
until he
Barry.
retired.
It wasn't Barry Bonds. I'm sorry. It was not definitely not Barry Bonds. Bobby Bonilla.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes sense because he played for the Nets.
Right.
Um,
Bobby
but
Bonilla. Was
like
it
even
Bobby Bonilla? Something like
I
that.
think so because I do believe he played for the Mets
Hmm.
a while back.
Yeah.
Um, but I was saying, like, as far as contracts is concerned, like people like these contracts, even when you get bought out of your contract or get amnesty, they
Mhm.
still paying you however they do the contract, you still get paid a certain amount of money, majority of what it is that you're owed. Or,
Mhm.
it's amazing with these contracts. You know, it kind of
Yeah.
made me wondering why I should have just continued on sports, playing
Right.
sports, get a contract like that. But that's neither here nor there. The point I'm
I
making
feel
is
you.
that these players and these contracts is, they control pretty much these sports,
Right.
the leagues as a whole. The owners doesn't really control the league. It's really the players that control the league.
And it's crazy because I mean, you talking about that buyout like D. Will. The Nets bought him out. I think they bought him out for like 16 mil.
Nah, no, it's 27.
They bought him out for 27 million,
Yeah,
and then he still signed a 2-year, $10 million contract with
yes,
Dallas. So he's getting his 27 mil plus another
yes,
10. So
yes.
it's not like and then and
The
then it was
20, the 27 million is not all in. I don't think it's all lumped. I think it's in over a period of a certain amount of years.
so when he retired, he's still collecting the check. Man, the best Social Security money to buy, I tell you, boy.
When I heard that, I couldn't help but chuckle because they just finished. Here's the crazy part: they just finished paying off the last money owed to Travis Outlaw. I think this was last year. Travis Outlaw hasn't played for the Nets in over 7 years now, 5 to 7 years.
Mm.
So imagine, like when I heard that they just finished playing Travis, I'm like, Travis Outlaw don't even play in the NBA no more. So he's just collecting check after check because of the money that they still owed him from his contract when they bought him out. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, these contracts, outrageous as it sounds sometimes,
Mm.
I just now made it. It just makes it more acceptable to me about where players stand in the league. That's pretty much what it does.
See, what I appreciate with baseball with these type of contracts, like when A Rod was playing with, when he left Seattle and went to Texas to get that 10-year, $252 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
He played X amount of years, and then I think he was traded to the Yankees because the Yankees took on the contract that he was on and renegotiated it and made it a bigger contract.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that left Texas with only paying a small portion of what they owed, and the
Mm-hmm.
new team had to pick up the slack.
Yep.
See, that's what makes baseball so beautiful when it comes to contracts and stuff. The teams are like, look, we're paying this Joker $20 million a year over 4 years. It's $80 million.
Mm-hmm.
He's in year two. He's declining, at least in our eyes. Another team takes a flyer on him. They trade him. They have to kind of pony up some pieces, but the new team will take on that contract and say, okay, we're going to see what you can do. Now, what's funny, you talk about this, when you talk about, you heard the comments John Wall said about Reggie Jackson and his 4-year, $80 million contract or whatever his whatever contract Reggie Jackson from
Detroit?
yeah.
No, I didn't hear the comment. What was the comment?
Oh, I believe to the extent that John Wall was like, wow, I'm not knocking Reggie Jackson from getting his big contract, but he's like, he's not even on the same level as me, and he got the same contract I got. But he said, but don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking that he got paid. I'm just like, he's like, this whole salary thing is out of whack because you trying to tell me Reggie Jackson is all-star elite like John Wall, and it's like all these players are getting paid ridiculous amount of money that really not worth the ridiculous amount of money that they're getting, especially in the NBA.
I didn't know. I gotta laugh at that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he. So, okay, that was funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yes, that is true with the NBA players. And I said this from the jump when the free agency hit that players is gonna overprice. Players are gonna get paid overpriced. Like teams are gonna overpay the average Joe the same amount of money that they would pay actual stars because of the fact of their need for that particular player.
Right.
It's basically just how it is. A person that's averaging like 10 points a game. I'll give you a perfect example. Like let's say for example DeAndre Jordan. Like they offered him like the max to keep him in LA. DeAndre Jordan, as well as he is don't get me wrong, great dunker, great rebounder, great defensive player, but to be offered the max, some people may have problems with that, especially if he's not averaging them. I don't believe he's averaging over 15 a game, but the point I'm making is that he's a valuable piece. That's why they offered him the max. And players, especially that was free agents, there was some rumbling about the offers that people got. Now, majority of the free agents that got offers, they were reasonable, I should say, especially because of the cap that's coming up next year. But of course, you're gonna always have these people, some players who believe that these people might be getting overpaid because of their value or their lack of value for their team. You can't really compare John Wall, and John Wall should know that he can't really compare he can't compare his value to his team in any different to how Reggie Jackson would be valued to his team.
Right, I agree.
But it's now I want to see when Detroit plays Washington. How that's gonna happen. I want to see them go 1-on-1.
Go at it. But it was funny you brought up DeAndre Jordan because I think it was Barkley that said a couple of days ago that DeAndre Jordan got this crazy contract, but he said put him in a situation where he can't dunk. He's just averaging 6 points a game. He might get you rebounds and he might get you block shots, but he's only giving you 6 points a game, but yet he's demanding max money.
Like I said, I can't knock him for doing that, especially because he was he was very a lot of teams were looking at him this year. So, I can't knock him. If I'm like averaging 10 points a game and I know a lot of teams is looking at me to offer to play with them, I'm going to go for the max, whoever's going to give me the max. Same thing with Greg Monroe. I think he got the max for a certain amount of time. He's now with Milwaukee.
Right.
And a lot of teams didn't feel as though I'm not saying a lot, but some teams may have felt as though that he's not worth the max player or max contract.
But I could see how they can use him in Milwaukee to free up the Greek Freak and Jabari.
Oh yeah.
And that whole nucleus.
No. The Bucks. I say this right now. The Bucks team they jumped from, I think it was in 6th place in the Eastern Conference last year. They jumped from 6 to maybe 4 or 5. They moved up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely moved up a notch. And the way Kidd is coaching them, I put it like this. I do have to say this. I mean, as much as I couldn't stand him, I mean, I was upset with how he left Brooklyn, me being a
Hmm.
Nets fan, but I do have to respect that kid has done a great job in Milwaukee. I gotta
Yeah,
give him props for that.
yeah,
So and now he's got a team, a young team that's a playoff bound team that is gonna make some noise.
right.
I mean, to be honest, there is really four teams that I could say right now, which includes the Cavs in the East, that really made significant strides this year, and the Bucks is definitely one of them.
Who the other two?
Um, it's the Bucks, Cavs, the Miami Heat, and the Washington Wizards, unless otherwise. Unless
So, so you don't think the Wizards losing Pierce was that big of a deal?
No, because they picked up Allen Anderson. So I mean, he's a poor man's Paul Pierce. I don't think they is. I don't. To be honest, I don't really think they took a step back in my opinion. And with Wall being more hungry because of the opportunity that was missed in the playoffs,
Hmm.
I would not be surprised if he comes there with a determination of not just making the playoffs but making some noise in the playoffs. So
Right. True.
you know, I really don't think Washington took a step back at all. Losing Pierce to me, I don't think it's going to be a big issue.
Mm.
If anything, like I said, adding Allen and Jared Dudley, I think y'all got now.
Yeah.
I think y'all. I think the Washington Wizards is going to be fine. I really do.
Now, one last point in the NBA.
Hmm.
I think I read where Mark Cuban is throwing out the idea of having 10 teams up the playoff season from 8 to 10 for the East and the West to help eliminate teams from trying to tank to get the number one pick. And he was saying that by upping it to 10 teams, he said give the first and second place teams in the playoffs the
A
first
bye.
round bye, and then have them. He said the two lower seeds, the 9 and 10, have a 5 game series to then determine and then move on to 7 game series moving forward.
He turned it into the tournament.
Hey,
He turned
but you
it.
know what? But can you really knock that though? Because
No, I
then
can't.
because now just like with baseball when they expanded it and added an additional wild card team, teams now have that opportunity that are close can now scratch and say they can make the playoffs, and then you have less teams just playing like crap, trying to get the number one ping pong ball like the Knicks, and end up getting picked number four. you know.
No, I do understand that. Because there was also talk about Adam Silver possibly changing up the format of the playoffs.
Yeah.
No matter and then based off the records. So I don't know if there's still more they're continuing the talks on that or not. I'll put it like this. At least I give Adam Silver some credit because he's trying to mix it up
Hmm.
to see what's beneficial and he's hearing what the complaints are in regards to the NBA is concerned. But and real quick, Mark Cuban's idea is not really it's not bad at all. It's just it would be interesting to see if, to be honest, I would be interested to see if Adam Silver and the NBA actually consider something like that. And
I mean,
I would like to see what the players would think about that as well. I don't
I
think the
mean,
players union would be, you know,
I don't think they'd be mad because now that team that was possibly missed the playoff of one game now is that team that's getting additional playoff money. The stadiums, the arenas, those teams are getting more concession money, more ticket sales, more media things, and all this type of stuff. It's a win-win for everybody. Everybody's going to get a piece of the pie, one way or the other,
that is true.
and
But
it's more basketball.
that is true, but that may be that's true too. Like I said, like I don't see an issue with that. I'll be interested to see if Silver would actually consider something like that.
I say, why not? I mean, change it up a minute. Change it up a while. If it don't work after one season, or you don't think it's a good field, you can always go back. Say, it didn't work all that great. We're gonna go back to 8 games. 8 teams.
Yeah, like they did that with those NBA balls back in the day.
Right, exactly.
But we could talk. We could continue the conversation and talk about this throughout the night. But I do have to do some things around this time.
Yeah, man.
So, real quick for everybody, of course, this is Guys Talking Sports. I'd like to thank my guest host, Adrian Catwell, again for gracing his presence to talk sports with me, man. I really do appreciate it.
Oh man, look, it's always fun. Like I said, we started off the conversation like we don't have really much to talk about, and then now we sitting there talking as if we could talk for another 2, 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah,
So I mean, there's always something to talk about. It's just a matter of
definitely.
just getting there.
Yeah, exactly. It's from now on we won't be like, yo, what are we gonna talk about? We're just gonna just talk and just
Right,
let it flow. Let it
right.
flow. But for everybody that don't know where they can reach you, let them know where they can reach you at, man.
Oh, you can find me on Twitter. I believe my handle is Adrian Cat 1963. Adrian Cat 1963. That's ADRIANCAT 1963.
So did you drop Cat Daddy?
Oh, that's what it is. Oh, oh, okay. Or it might be Cat Daddy 1963.
It's all good.
Actually, it is Cat Daddy 1963.
I, th- I thought you had a new handle or
No, no.
something. It's all good.
It's Cat Daddy 1963. It's Cat Daddy 1963, right?
All right, I'll make sure I'll make sure I post that up on the screen so that they can
Oh
see
man, yeah, I'm
it.
sorry.
No, it's all good. I was like, wait, he changed it up for me. Okay,
Oh man.
it's all good. Again, man, for everybody else, you guys, you can see my screen handle. It's I am Al Qualls. You can catch me on Twitter, catch me on Instagram. I really don't be on Facebook anymore. I don't know why. I don't, but I just don't at the
Mhm.
particular moment. I pop in every now and then, but that's pretty much it. Also, for those who haven't subscribed yet, please do take the time and just hit the subscribe button on the lower right hand side. Really would appreciate it. I appreciate all the subscribers that's out there. I really do thank y'all because now we're taking off. We're getting a lot more subscribers, and I do appreciate it. Take the time to say thank you to everybody else. Guys, we'll be on YouTube. It'll be broadcast. We're on YouTube now. We're gonna have a new channel for Guys Talking Sports in the upcoming weeks. But for now, I'd like to thank y'all for watching. And until next time, when we see you, take care.
Have a great night, everybody.